Hey there everyone, how are you doing? Joe Marin here from MobileCupOfJoe.com. In this episode of Mobile Cup of Joe, we don't have a phone we're going to be reviewing or a device we're going to be unboxing. We are back with some more news and rumors. We haven't made a video like this for the past really 4 months. Since we have made the changes to the website where we only feature our written product reviews there on the website instead of written news articles, we made that change so we can focus more here on the YouTube channel and so we can continue to make these great news videos. So in this episode of Mobile Cup of Joe, we're going to be talking about a new rumor that suggests that we will see the HTC One make his appearance on Verizon sometime later this year, how Samsung officially unveiled the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini, Apple's CEO Tim Cook made an official statement saying that iOS 7 will be a part of this year's Worldwide Developers Conference, and more, all coming up in this episode of Mobile Cup of Joe. But guys, before we go any further, please go ahead and grab that coffee cup, fill it up, bring it over, and sit on down. Take a swig for your Mobile Cup of Joe. Alright, so in our first news story of the day, we're going to be talking about Apple, more specifically Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference that is nearing us very quickly later this month in June. So at their Worldwide Developers Conference, Apple is really known for showing new software that's being released, whether that's iOS or OS X. At an interview at a D11 conference recently, the Next Web reports that in an interview, Apple CEO Tim Cook made an official statement saying that iOS 7 will be a part of the show at the Worldwide Developers Conference, and is quoted saying that Johnny Ive is really key to the development of iOS 7. So with iOS 7 is really an exciting upgrade from iOS 6. Since Scott Forstall's firement and his absence from Apple, he was really the key developer of iOS. Johnny Ive, who is the designer of the design and the build quality of really all of Apple's products, is now taking over iOS. And we've been hearing a lot of rumors about how Johnny Ive wants to make iOS a more flatter experience, which this means like how in the notebook application on iOS, how it looks like a notepad. Apple doesn't want that anymore. Johnny Ive wants it to be a very slick, a very clean, a very flat user experience. That's where we get that word flat from. So with the confirmation that we will see iOS 7 at the WWDC conference of 2013 this year, not a big surprise, but it is nice to get a little confirmation from the CEO himself. So now that we've talked about Apple, we might as well talk about their biggest competitor and rival, which is, of course, Samsung. So with Samsung's giant success of the Galaxy S4, the company's latest flagship device with its 5-inch Full HD 1080p HD screen, quad-core processors, 2 gigs of RAM, 13 megapixel rear-facing camera, and more, the device is an absolute powerhouse. For those of you, though, that don't like the idea of having that big of a screen size, want something a little bit for less money, and you don't need all that processing power, Samsung has officially announced the Galaxy S4 Mini. Now, we've heard this device rumored really ever since the Galaxy S4 was first announced, but the S4 Mini is now official, and in terms of specifications, it's packing in a 4.3-inch screen with a pixel resolution of 960 by 540, which is a QHD display, but you're still getting a Super AMOLED panel. You're getting a 1.7 GHz dual-core processor, 1.5 gigs of RAM, which is very interesting. You don't really ever see 1.5. It's usually either 512 megs or 1 gig or 2 gigs, but on the S4 Mini you will be getting 1.5 gigs of RAM. You're also getting an 8 megapixel rear-facing camera, 1.9 megapixel front-facing camera, a 1900 milliamp hour battery, and Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean. That's the latest version of Android out of the box. So really doesn't sound like that bad of a device. You also have dual SIM for 3G model available, with another model available for full 4G LTE support. No word if this device will make its way to the US. Really not thinking so, since the Galaxy S3 Mini never made its way to the US, but it still seems like a really nice device for those of you that like all the software features in the Galaxy S4 and you like its design, but you want something a little smaller, a little cheaper. Seems like the Galaxy S4 Mini could be the smartphone for you. Now, the HTC One is an incredible phone, said to have the best design of any smartphone in its class, and it's on pretty much every carrier here in the United States of America. All of those except Verizon Wireless. Now, a lot of people thought that the HTC One didn't release on Big Red service because HTC Droid DNA had just been released with their service not too long ago, and we think that HTC thought if they released the HTC One on Verizon service, that would kind of overshadow the DNA, and the DNA would be forgotten about. Well, now that the DNA is a few months old, released back in November 2012, people are starting to forget about it already just because of its age, and everyone's looking at the HTC One on all these other carriers. Well, we've seen a new leaked image on the interwebs suggesting that the HTC One will soon be making its way to Verizon Wireless. The image comes as a product list of all current devices and upcoming devices that are on Verizon Wireless' service. Now, the screenshot comes courtesy from SlashGear, who also suggest that we will see the HTC One debut on Verizon sometime within early summer. Now, the image also, which comes from SlashGear, was originally posted by a man who supposedly needs advanced knowledge of all upcoming devices for Verizon Wireless. So we're not sure if this image is really legit yet. We're not sure if HTC One will actually ever come to Verizon Wireless. This is still a rumor at this point in time, but it really wouldn't surprise me at all if we saw the HTC One make an appearance on Verizon by the end of the summer. HTC One is an incredible device. It'd be a very smart move for Verizon and HTC as well to put the HTC One on one of the most popular service providers here in the US. Again, this is still a rumor at this point in time, but with the red Verizon shirt here, didn't plan that at all, kind of a nice coincidence. Really wouldn't be surprised to see that HTC One finally makes an appearance on Big Red's service. Now that we've talked about Apple, iOS, and Google's Android, let's talk about some Windows Phone 8. So the Huawei W1 is now available on Walmart.com for 229 buckaroos. Now the Huawei W1 is Huawei's first Windows Phone powered device running Windows Phone 8. Now in terms of specifications, you're only getting a 1.2 GHz dual-core processor, 512 megabytes of RAM, a 1930 mAh battery, 0.3 megapixel front-facing camera, 8 megapixel rear-facing camera, 4 gigabytes of internal storage, and a 4-inch screen with a pixel resolution of 800 by 480, which is a WWDC resolution. Now, while the specs are certainly pretty low, the Huawei W1 will work with Walmart's prepaid cell phone plan, Straight Talk. So for $230 to get a full Windows Phone 8 power device with Straight Talk's very cheap prepaid plans, really might not be that bad of a deal. If you're looking for a phone on Straight Talk, you're probably looking for something pretty cheap. You most likely don't need something that's going to be an extreme powerhouse of a phone like the HTC One or the Samsung Galaxy S4. So the specs may not be all that impressive compared to all the high-end smartphones that have been releasing nowadays. Still, for the price, doesn't seem like it could be that terrible of a Windows Phone 8 starter phone with Walmart's Straight Talk. And with all that said, that's all the news we have for you today. We're going to hopefully be able to keep creating news and rumor shows like this regularly here on the YouTube channel. Again, most of the traffic was coming from our YouTube channel, most of our revenue was coming from the YouTube channel, so it just made sense to not focus so much on the website and focus more on the channel. Again, our website is still up and fully functional. It's just that now, instead of news articles and product reviews, it exclusively features our written product reviews on there. Again, just want to point that out. Really excited to finally be able to make news articles and news videos on the YouTube channel. But that's all the time we have for this episode of Mobile Cup of Joe. Please feel free to leave your thoughts about the news videos in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions on future video ideas for us here to make on the channel, please feel free to do that in the comments below as well. If you liked the video, please go ahead and hit the like button if you liked it. It takes 1 second to do so, and it really does help support the show. And if you want to show support towards the show even more, I would really appreciate it if you go ahead and hit the subscribe button for more Mobile Cup of Joe videos. On Mobile Cup of Joe, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter for the latest Mobile Cup of Joe news. And don't forget to head on over to www.mobilecupofjoe.com for the latest in technology reviews. I'm Joe Martin from mobilecupofjoe.com. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.